People write the Bronx off as some hood where people go and there's just violence, but there's people there, working people, everyday people who are trying to make a difference in their communities, at work, in their homes. And I wanted to pay homage to that because I feel like people don't care enough about what goes on outside of Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn and Manhattan. But there are real people that deserve space, that deserve to be seen, that deserve to be heard in the Bronx. And I just really wanted to put that on paper and to show that this is a community that deserves it. Also, hip hop started in the Bronx. Let's not forget that. Hi, my name is Amber Oliver. I'm a writer, book editor, and author of When the Music Hits, coming out June 17th. It's a novel about a young Black woman from the Bronx, New York, who lands a job as an A&R executive, a dream job that she's had for a long time. And when she gets there, she realizes just how hard it is to survive and thrive while there, encountering microaggressions, racism, and a bunch of other things. And she has to figure out how to overcome that while staying true to herself. I've been writing since high school. Well, we went to school together, which is so cool because it was the first time I felt like I could really be creative. I don't really come from a super creative family, hardworking, but not super creative. And so being able to have an outlet to share my thoughts and my feelings and create something was really great. And so I started writing poetry in high school, and it was bad. It was not good, but it also led me to sort of writing fiction, which I really love because I've always been a real big reader. I love reading from a very young age, and my mom really instilled that in me. And so I just kept writing from the time in high school. And in college, I was an English major, majoring in creative writing. And I kept writing stories there too, and sort of improving on my craft and writing short stories and the beginning of a novel. And so that's really how I started my sort of like writing journey. So I always knew I wanted to write a book. I originally started writing something else. Like this one book was very sort of like mythic and based on Greek mythology and very much not in line with like my own lived experiences. And so I ended up shelving that novel and starting this new novel after I started working in publishing as a book editor. And a lot of what's in this novel is inspired by not necessarily true events, but sort of the idea of the job that I was doing working in a creative industry and how hard that is to navigate as a young Black woman coming from a working class family and trying to succeed while in an industry that doesn't pay, historically pays very little. So I wanted to talk about that. What it's like to work in corporate America and the hierarchy and everything that comes with that. I also work in a creative industry, and that comes with its own set of challenges. So I wanted to write about what it was like to try to like do something that you feel passionate about and what that passion costs. And so all of that is sort of baked into this novel idea that I had in 2018. It's sort of the novel that I wanted to read at that time, but didn't exist. And so I was like, okay, I should be the one to write it. And so that's how this sort of idea of the corporate sort of side of it came to be. Originally, the novel was going to be about publishing, and I didn't want to write about publishing because I wanted a job. I wanted to keep my job in publishing and really to sort of keep publishing books or start to publish books. So I decided to pivot to the music industry, one, because it's sexy, it's something that everybody is interested in, or most people are interested in, at least from the artist side. And it's creative. So I feel like it was a good sort of like match for me. And also I'm a big fan of music. I grew up, with music all around. My family is really big music lovers. My first concert was when I was 6 years old, and I've been going to, concerts ever since then. Live music has always been a big part of, who I am, and I use music to express myself. And so I wanted to blend that sort of like passion that I have with music with sort of the idea of working in this industry and what it looks like for someone trying to succeed in this sort of like industry that a lot of people don't know a lot about, but there's sort of inner workings happening there that I feel like could be touched upon. I see a lot of Billy's journey and my journey being similar. because, you know, I'm a Black woman and I work in corporate America and I work in publishing specifically. Music is surprisingly similar. Like, I work for an imprint in music labels. They're called imprints. Those sort of mini labels, which is really interesting. And so there were a lot of similarities in writing, which made it interesting to compare. But also there are a lot of sort of like microaggressions that have happened to me and of course to other Black women in this industry. Some of it is personal, whether they mistook me for another Black woman in the office, or they touched my hair without asking, or asked me sort of invasive questions about my hair. Those are ever present. But I think one of the larger things that really sort of like is highlighted in Billy's journey and has been a part of my journey too is having to prove the worth of Black and brown people in these spaces. And, you know, as an editor, it's my job to really advocate for an author, tell them why this book needs to be, you know, purchased by us at auction or otherwise, and sort of like who the readers are and why it's important, right? And I'm really good at that. I have very strong vision. I fully understand like what an author is trying to do, who they want to reach, and how to translate that to a publisher. But the publisher doesn't always agree. Sometimes they don't see the reader, they don't see the audience, they don't value that voice the same. And it's something that happens to Billy all the time, or happens to Nina even in the book, where Michael might say, oh, like, why is this person important? They're not gonna sell a lot of, you know, albums or singles or whatever it is. They're not gonna stream well. And that is based on things that are based on bias, really. It's not really rooted in fact. And I feel like there are a lot of opportunities that are given to our white counterparts, even though the value and the talent may be the same. And so I think there is an uphill battle for both me and other Black people like me in these spaces, but also for Billy to try to fight against the system to get these voices heard. Otherwise, who else is gonna do it? And so I really resonate with that part of her journey, and it's something that I do every day at work. I'm born and raised, you know, I was born in Jacoby Hospital. I lived all over the Bronx as a kid, a lot of different areas. I've seen a lot of the Bronx, and I found so much beauty there. Like, people write the Bronx off as some hood where people go and there's just violence, but there's people there, working people, everyday people who are trying to make a difference in their communities, at work, in their homes. And I wanted to pay homage to that because I feel like people don't care enough about what goes on outside of Brooklyn, downtown Brooklyn and Manhattan. But there are real people that deserve space, that deserve to be seen, that deserve to be heard in the Bronx. And I just really wanted to put that on paper and to show that this is a community that deserves it. Also, hip hop started in the Bronx. Let's not forget that. And a lot of, you know, my growing up, I heard hip hop all day, every day, you know, and other types of music too, soul, disco, whatever. And that was always sort of playing in the neighborhoods. And it became a part of like my essence. It's a part of my family's essence, even though they're from Queens. I just really wanted to pay homage to the birth of hip hop being in the Bronx, but also the people, you know, who just don't get the space that they deserve. So I really wanted to pay homage to that and my journey in the Bronx too. I, you know, wasn't sure where I was gonna end up. I knew I was very determined. And a lot of people, again, wrote me off. They thought, oh, you're not gonna be like a writer, that's not a real job. Like, oh, you wanna get into publishing? Don't do that. But I ended up doing both things, and I'm from the Bronx, and I feel like that could be an example to somebody who wants to go on the same journey, because there are a bunch of artistic people who are from the Bronx, and I wanted to give them space and make them feel seen and heard.